Okay, another round of DM1, and with the fabulous Beth Regards, who has been working tirelessly on material preparation for this class. You should know that Beth is going above and beyond the call of duty. We're all pretty stressed out right now, and Beth is a champion, so we need to support her.
I got up at 5:55. 5:55 is my favorite time because it's the highest time with all of the numbers in it.
5:55. I thought you liked 11:11.
No, 11. I appreciate 11:11.
I thought you were a fan of 11:11. Okay.
So I thought that would bring me luck if I got up at my favorite time. So I just finished at 11:04. I did a few other things. I ate breakfast and stuff like that, but mainly it was trying to get the project aligned. And I think, Gary, it's the one that you use to move ahead with your because you did your interaction, right? Have you done that yet?
Well, I haven't done my interaction because I was waiting on those instructions from you, but I have filed all of my PDFs and my GIF for the animation.
It's just been popped in the modules fresh. Well, it's sort of a refried, really, because it's reworked from the last version, and so we're missing some of the new additions that one of our students did, and we may have to dip into that as an alternative. I really wanted you to experience that. So
cool.
Today we are all about identifying our final homepage and preparing all of our projects, our portfolio projects, for inclusion and linking in the homepage. So all of the stuff that we were doing up till last week was getting ready to identify the homepage. And I think Nico and Gary are very close to that. Gary's done his, I think. So we'll get to see that. But it's up to everybody else to get their homepage to the point where it can be interactive and where it's the way you like it. And then we're going to change from the InDesign regular format to the interactive format. But all of the 6 projects also need to be gathered together, saved as PDFs, and named properly. So again, all of that preparation has to happen before we can even start to do the interactive part, because you won't have anything to work with if you don't have all of those things done already. And Gary?
Would you like me to compress and send you my 6 PDF files? Well, 1 GIF and 5 PDF files, so you could put them together in class?
I would like to. I'd like to show them. At first, what I'd first like to do is to see whatever anybody else has in terms of see where everybody is. But yes to that. So while we're doing that, if you can have your master page and your 6 chosen pages all lined up together in a single file, that work.
Got it.
Okay. But also input on anything that's happening for the other students, because everybody's going to be in a slightly different place. And so I think that, John, you are going to be the MC for this.
I'm the MC.
Yeah.
Master of Ceremonies.
So I'm going to be ready to share the screen and go and pull out files as needed if the files have been turned in. So I'm going over to Canvas, and while you're talking about more to do with the final project, I'm going to go see if anything's been turned in. I'm going to look in the.
So let me remind people that we have 3 weeks. So those 3 weeks go very, very quickly. We have probably 2.5 weeks actually. So if you are thinking about catching up, this is the time to catch up, because the time goes really fast at the end of the semester. And again, you should be, doing everything you can. I know a lot of people are behind. We're all behind. Everybody's behind at Cabrillo, but this is the time you want to start catching up, because you want to kind of look at your calendar and say, okay, things are ending at the in 2.5 weeks, and 2.5 to 3 weeks. So keep that in mind, and do what you can to catch up, because this is the, if you don't catch up now, you're not going to be able to. So you really want to start looking at your calendar here.
John, could you talk about the options? I don't know if you saw them that came in today about the pass, no pass, and excuse withdrawal.
Yeah, and I'm still like trying to wrap my brain around how this actually is supposed to work. But essentially, and my understanding is that the students, you have gotten emails on this. That's what I'm told. So I'm not exactly sure what students have already gotten in their email. So maybe you guys could tell us. But apparently, you should have gotten very recently information about withdrawals and EWs and pass no pass status. Has anybody gotten this email?
I've seen a few things come through, and
got it.
There's been quite a bit of correspondence, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I know everybody's overwhelmed. Well, what they're doing is that they're extending extending deadlines for some of these things, like whether or not you have the option to take it pass no pass. That deadline normally would have passed a long time ago, but it's now not. So you can still request pass no pass, and because there's been so much trouble this semester on a variety of fronts, they're extending what's called the EW, the excused withdrawal. So essentially, they're allowing people to get refunds and take an excused withdrawal, which means that you could then take the class again, and then you wouldn't get a W on your record. It would be as if it hadn't happened. So that may be an option that some students want to do. Kind of depends on your situation. And I'm not entirely clear how all this is going to work out, but they have given us the instruction that we should be very understanding and compassionate and lenient with all these deadlines and everything. So if you have specific questions on that, you could ask them. We'll answer them to the best of our ability. A lot of these changes have happened very recently, so we're still trying to all figure out how this works with admissions and records. And there was some conflicting information that came out over the last 2 weeks on how this would work. But apparently, the bottom line is, if you feel that you want to take a withdrawal and be able to take the class again without having a W on your transcript, you can now do that. You can still do that at this point in time. And you can also change your status to pass no pass at this time if you wish to do that. You would do that through your eTrieve, your self-service online forms. So that's something that you would initiate as a student. So if you feel like you just want to take it pass no pass, you can do that right now. If you feel like, you know what, my life is too crazy, I just need to withdraw and take it again, you can do a withdrawal that is automatically, and my understanding is it's converted to what's called an EW, which means that it will not be on your record after you take the class again, and it will just go away, and you can get a refund. So Beth, is that your understanding? That's how I'm understanding it.
Yes, that is exactly it. And so that they, every week they cut more slack, they allow more
Keep changing
time.
it.
And, but you do need to let us know if you do apply for a pass, no pass, so that we know about it before the end of the semester. So that's
Beth,
so
I believe that now I may be wrong because everything keeps changing, but my understanding is that the student can go in and they request the pass no pass, and then we get an email that we confirm that we just have to okay it. Is
Yeah.
that how it works? I think.
I think so. If there was a new email early this morning about it, I mean, it's every day that we're getting these, so that the latest one was from the student services.
Oh, Sue Gotcha sent something out. I just
Yeah,
saw that.
Sue sent something, and then the dean of VAPA also sent the same message. I've posted things that are a mile long that we were asked to post about grades that are at the beginning of every class. So in our announcements, there's something in there, but as of yesterday, or today, this morning, I'm going to be pulling that off later because that's been overridden by more lenient, more gracious, and better for students proposals. So, but it's something that the students have to actually decide and do, and then let us know. So I'm going to be looking at something here in a moment. Oh, I don't know how I got this done. I'm going to look at,
And also in the email I'm reading from that we just got this morning, it says that they prefer the student to initiate their own actions in terms of requesting a withdrawal or a pass no pass option. But if the students can't do that, we can actually initiate some things. But she's saying that they prefer the students initiate the actions. So if you do feel that you want to change your grade status, you should do that in your e-forms, and then let us know as well.
okay. I want to show something here that I really appreciate. So Nico sent me his project 9, and I gave him some tips for what to do to make it look better, and you get a couple more points. I'm trying to find the original one though, and I'm just not sure. Let me see if I can. I think the original might be before I show my desktop. My desktop is such a mess right now from searching around for things. But we'll go and take a look at. All right. Yes, there it is. No. So I think I'm just going to show it like it is. But in all fairness, I wanted to just see the before picture.
Beth, it looks like Gary posted his files in the chat.
Oh, okay.
And you can just double click on those and download them.
Yeah, it's
I
five
just
PDFs
have
and
to,
one GIF, just so you know, because the animation had to be an animation file, not a PDF.
okay. Well, I'm just going to do one thing here, and then I'm going to go and get that. I'm going to share my screen and bring this up. And here we go. So, Nico had several things that were kind of out of alignment, and I indicated ways to align things, and he brought his name around here. This is going to be, let's see, Shift W. Shift W, did you see how blurry it was before? Now it's all crispy. So one of the things was, his name was, not sure if you can see it. In this view, you can't see my cursor, but his name that's on the side that's aligned and lighter was dark and not aligned to anything in particular and was kind of down in the color harmony area. But this whole page got shaped up really nicely. And I encourage people, if I send you suggestions for remodeling your page, and I give points for that. So if you lost points for some carp or other maybe information or something like that, then you can redo them to get more points for it. So this one came out great, and I just wanted to show that to everybody. And Gary, what have you got? You've got, do you have, I better leave that open and just see. Just leave it up here in the corner. Okay, so you have something in Canvas that you turned in?
No, I just did it via the chat here, the file.
Oh, okay.
File chat in Zoom.
And
a compressed folder, and it has the two different forms of the InDesign files.
oh, okay. I keep forgetting that there's chat under that more.
You have to be out of full screen, I believe, to access your chat and then see the thread and grab my files.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you stop sharing, you should be able to grab the chat files, I believe.
Okay.
I dated them 5/5/20 at the start of the title of the compressed file for clarity's sake.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Did anyone hear that?
What happened?
Yeah.
I've been muting people because a lot of background noise seems to be
There was this, so some like somebody screamed into their mic or something.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded like something that a suitcase fell off the shelf.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going into chat now.
Okay.
Okay, and then this is a compressed, this is a zipped file, and I'm going to click to open. Okay, and I'm opening it, and then there's another compressed file inside that.
Could just be another folder, not a compressed file.
Oh, okay. It now the folder's opening. And we're looking at design one.
Yeah, let me follow along here, but yeah, I think that's right. Let's see. Yeah, it should be the only one in there.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Well,
And that's basically just, it's the two that I had before, but I cut it down to the one, the aquatic one.
Yes, yes.
And then I give you another folder called file assets, or final assets file with the 6 files in it for automation, interaction rather.
Okay, and at this point I can share my screen
Cool.
because I've got the file out. So here we go. I'm opening up. I didn't make any changes, but okay. Oh, it's coming. All right. Oh boy. So this is what I wanted everybody to see. So from the place where you had your, I'm going to look at it with a Shift W here so that you can see the whole thing on your screen. And you guys can't see my controls, can you? I want to get the controls out of the way. There we go. So this is where you want to be with the chosen work that you decide on. You want to have all of your files, your portfolio pieces in separate text frames, like we talked about last week. And some of you may have done that, but this is the point where today you have to do that. And to decide on just exactly how your image is going to look and all of the elements in it. So that's the first thing that you're going to be doing, is to make sure that that's done. Also, all of the suggestions we made last week, like that the main theme of your page is not a huge DM1 in the middle saying final project DM1. It's about an imagined home page for your portfolio for life after you graduate or life after you leave class. So this is about your promoting yourself. So DM1 is in there just as a kind of tiny token, like a trademark. So the way Gary has it here is just right. So again, it's the quote that you have and your name and 6 projects that are in their own frames, each in its own text frame, is how you set up to have to start creating interactivity.
So wait, we only need 6 projects, right?
You need the 6 projects that are stated in the project and final project instructions that are right at the beginning, and then they appear again. And so the 6 projects you need are the ones that are stated. And today you need to get them out as a PDF and save them as the proper name. And so they're all going to be separate PDFs. Again, this is what we looked at last week. So Gary, do you have yours in a separate file? That
They're in the compressed folder I sent you.
okay? So oh dear.
You're going to see them in a final asset files folder. And in your instructions, you call out for 6 PDFs, but the animation one, it needs to be a GIF.
Yeah, that's no.
No?
Yeah, that's the other thing we talked about last week, is that the animation one is not animated. It's frames taken from your animation. So that is a file that has to be built. Again, we can go in and look at past final projects so that you can see how that works. So we'll be looking at some final projects that have been posted so that we can just reinforce that part of the project.
Excellent.
So you would
So disregard my GIF.
Together your well, we want to look at it anyway. But if we were in real life, you probably would be putting an actual animated GIF in there. But we're
Right.
that's a little more complicated than we already are for this one. So again, everyone, this is the point where you want to be, where it's exactly the way you want it, and all of the names of the portfolio pages are in frames that uh, can be converted to buttons. So that's for that part. And then why don't we go take a look at I forget where you said the
They're in a folder inside that compressed file that I just sent you, the 5-5-20 folder.
okay.
You'll see final asset files, and it has 6 files, the 6th being that GIF you can just scratch for now. But 1 through 5 are just PDFs, numbered 1 through 5, and characters, typeface, resolution, color, typography.
Terrific. Okay. So, and we'll look at the GIF too, but this is the, I'm gonna pull this up. So you've got your 6 files inside a folder, and now each of these files has to be named, it will ultimately be named characters like so.
Right.
But this is still in this phase, but we will look at characters. So this is the characters file. You would then go in, and also, as recommended last week, if there were instructions or corrections, I would make an effort to make those corrections so you're not turning in something that was not as good as it could be. So if we corrected it and said to do certain things, I would apply those corrections to that file and then PDF it so that the spelling errors and the alignment errors and anything like that weren't in there. If you were doing a real portfolio for yourself, you would be making every effort to make what you put in the portfolio look as good as possible. So that's what we're after here. So then we have the typeface. Again, if there were suggestions for improving that, I would improve it. And this is showing how an understanding of resolution and file formats and image resolution. And this is showing an understanding of color. Now for this one, I would not have the crop marks, so I would probably remove those for this particular file. So everyone, if you have your crop marks on your page, that was for class to show that you understood that there was a trim and bleed possibility going on there. And for this one, though, I think just having it alone in its own space is good. And then we have typography, and that one too should be just the 7-inch square, so that you're showing the bleed and how that works. Can't do it in that one. So yes, so using the second version that was to the size of the image. So when you get into the image, you can do a Shift W just to see what, or just trim it down. So these things are going to be sitting on there. Some of them are different sizes, like this one. And so you're going to be putting them on pages that descend down from your home page, and you'll be centering them and making them consistent so they don't jump all around when you go down to link to them, so that they're in the same place when you link to them. And then we have So that's our typography. And this is fun. So you won't be doing this, but let's see if we can, if it'll. So this, make it go, make it play. I think that if I put this, the GIF on a, there we go. So you won't need to be doing this to your animation. If you're going to an appointment to find out about animation, you probably would. And in fact, in the webinar I was in a few days ago, animation is one of the expectations of people who are doing graphics for the web and for any purpose. And being able to work online as well as be a designer is something that's becoming more and more important. I may have mentioned it in class last week, but at least taking DM60, if you're thinking about going into design, the expectation of the industry is that you can partner with the programmers and create more than was possible before, because you bring a whole new perspective as a designer to that process. So the big thing that's happening in companies that are employing people for this work is encouraging people to learn all they can about interactive user interface, code, basic code, HTML, CSS, and that puts you in a position to be able to join groups that are doing innovative things and trying to change the face of things. And this was all speeded up by the pandemic because everybody is online, Zooming all over the place all the time. And so these groups are finding that by coming together, kind of erasing the barriers of space, their ideas are flowing more quickly, and they're also in a place where they're not contending with other things from the outside. So being in that kind of workspace has made a huge difference, and they're realizing that coders need to get familiar with design, and designers need to get familiar with code. So that's where things are going. And so animation was in there as one of the, so any visual effects, animation, what's the other thing that the something, motionography and things like that are considered really important skills to have. So,
motionography, that has to do with the sea, right?
Yeah, motionography.
It's like oceanography, yeah. Right?
So you just go motionography, and you'll see it has to do with combining still images with moving images, and it goes way beyond that, goes into animation. And so that if you're involved with photography or video or anything like that, you have to know that there's this new thing that calls itself motionography, and it's, you know, there are things like that are happening very frequently now because people are home and their imaginations are running wild, and so they're inventing stuff left and right. Motionography happened before the COVID. But,
sorry about the puns.
Yeah.
They come in waves, you know.
They come in waves, I know, but...
sorry. I just can't help myself.
But you see, you got to weed things out when when it comes to how you prepare for those pictures.
Beth, make him stop.
Are you getting seasick?
getting seasick.
No, I'm just sailing along here. I'm fine.
They
So-
certainly get my seal of approval.
You ought to listen to him about that sort of thing. He knows what he's talking about.
Okay, we ought to stop this now. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna mute myself.
So everybody, that is, this is where you need to be. And so at this point, henceforward, deciding on what it is you're going to, which image or which variation of which image you're going to use for your home page. And I would just want to show this again full screen so that you're, it's what you really want out there to represent you. And so that's the first step. And then the next one is getting all of those 6 projects in the format that we just saw, except for the animation just needs to be 2 frames arranged how you want on a page and made into a PDF. So we're going to look at a couple of actual finals. Let's see if we can find some. I sure hope I put some up. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just W this. Wait a minute. Okay. Click on the right thing. And so we're going to go into dashboard and look at and then another thing, if we say we're putting up examples of something that you're going to need to be learning, that would be a good thing to go and investigate. Sometimes I forget what I've put up and what I haven't, but like project 7. Okay, so these are the 2 design examples, and so this is kind of where you are now. I think during the break I'll probably pop up some more, and let's just see if so these are the 2 examples. I was going to root around and try to find Austin's final, but he did a really nice one. And as I recall, he did not necessarily choose either one of these, but something that was a variation of these 2. So that would be what you'd be looking at. And we had a different set of projects. So you wouldn't be doing these, you'd be doing the one that has the animation rather than identity, because we didn't do that. And so this is the page, which is has super high contrast in and of itself, sort of like a very expansive, traditional and wonderful look off into the sky, and then this kind of wild, imaginative other side put together on the same page. He chose this one, which was more on the wild side, about I'm a lost boy from Neverland, was his thing. But this, he got corrected for this, so I'm going to go and try to find his final. But he was told to take out the DM1 Spring 2018 at the top. And so I think it went down here in gray on the black or something like that. But I'm making a note to myself to go and find these final projects. But again, this is for the home page. This is where we were at the end of last week, and where you're going to be is where we just showed Gary's. That's where you're going for today, is to make sure that you have that. Now, some of you may be close. Nico may have be close to that. So, but so this has been. And this is the class. As I was looking through my files, I ran across a whole bunch of slides that the previous student took of all of us drawing on the boards in the room that we were in at the beginning of this semester. We were in 317, but in this class back in 2018, we did free-form drawings on all the boards at the end of the class. We just all took markers and we drew on the boards all around the 317 classroom. You can't do that this time, but this was one of the people then kind of started things off. And well, I actually started things off, but he jumped right in. And then everybody was on the board doing these wild drawings that were all blending together. So Ben was one of those ringleaders, and you can see from the kind of work he does that he doesn't hold back. So he just gets it all out there. So his final, I can't remember if he chose one of these or not. So again, people didn't necessarily pick one or the other. They combined them and got them to a point like Gary's, very, not very different, but considerably different from last week. So the change was noticeable. There was a lot more ocean, and the files, portfolio files, were kind of in one place and looking really ready to click on. And the 6 files were all prepared and ready to go. So that's where we want to be at for this next part. And so this ended up these, and again, one of the things about these was to do something that was very different. And so that was, there's a circle, there's something similar about those. And the quote is the same, but these are quite different. So this is the one that was chosen, and we will go and take a look at that too. Just writing down these. So this student was another one who helped a lot with the interactivity, and she got into lots of things like animation and that sort of thing. So she brought things on board that were a little bit different. So, and she also, so she wrote another instructions for interactivity along with Oscar's. And this is Jessica. Yeah, a good designer, good artist. And this is the old final project that is not the one that this is similar to ours. No, this is ours. Oh, okay, I didn't change that. Yeah. So this is a variation of we're going to be doing the part where we get all of this stuff together right here, and end up doing interactivity, and then this is our last day. So again, we have today and 2 more days. And so the final project used to be the week before the last day of class. Now that they're due the last in the last class. So that's it hasn't changed yet. Yeah, Gary? No. So this is what I was working on since it ended up looking very much like the original one from last year, because I couldn't format the extra stuff. So we're going to be working with this one, and that's in there now. And let's see. There was something else I thought of that I wanted to talk about. So those were examples of finals, and if anyone else has something to look at between now and where are we? Between now and the break, does anyone
It's about 5 after 12, so
Yeah.
about 10 minutes.
Yeah. So it would be good to take a look at anything new that's come in. And see, I wanted to look at, gosh.
We could take a break now if you want to take time to look for something.
Yeah, I may be able to find it fairly quickly here. Is that, oh, that's 9. Yeah, let's do. Now, if anyone has anything that you haven't turned in, that you're about to turn in, this would be a good time to do that. So I'll be looking for what I got from you, Nico, and then we'll be looking at what everybody needs to do in order to, well, I think you know now, in order to get your work set up. So this is going to be, in class, we used to do this in class. We just had work on the project in class, but now we are in our homes. And so it's a little different kind of environment. So we might just stop and go and work on our stuff. And I'm not sure how to do that. So we would have people who helped us in class in the production. So these last 3 days in the face-to-face classes were production days. So we found out what we needed to do and we went and did it. And so from last week to this, the expectation was to do this, what we're looking at for Gary. That's what's expected now, but as usual, usually in this class, most people aren't there yet. So people are a little bit on their way, like I think Nico's got something and I'll look for that. If anyone else has something that's where you have done work on your homepage to refine it and make it the one that you're going to use, if you've done that, I'd like to have you turn that in during the break so that we can take a look at that. it's much easier to talk about something we can see. So that's what I'd like to do. So now we can, let's take 10. I'm going to gather up ethos and we will be looking at that and then talking about what everyone else can do. But I'm going to need to see what you have.
Okay, folks, sounds like we're going to take 10. I'm going to set my alarm and we'll be back in 10.